everyone, and welcome to the Koala Club podcast, a podcast made by and for international students in Australia. I am Kevin.
And I am Trang, and we talk about everything education, work, and lifestyle for overseas students in Australia.
Hello, welcome back to the Koala Club podcast. How are you, Chan?
I'm well, thanks, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic is it essential to have good marks at university to be able to secure a job after graduations?
Yeah, a very open-ended question, but I think that will make our discussion quite interesting. And I think we can look at it from two ways, right? One is from when you're applying for graduate programs, when you're at uni, and also from when you've already graduated for a couple of years and you've already had your first job, and then you're applying for other jobs after that. From the first scenario, when you're applying for a grad position, so you would be applying for a grad position anytime from, like, say, your final year to 1 year after you graduate, or maybe up to 2 years. Some companies still accept grads. So I think in some cases they do, or most of the time they will ask for your transcript, right?
Yeah, I've been asked for, I probably go around to 4 different companies since I graduated, and I've probably been asked 3 or 4 times for my transcript in uni. Yeah, not to say that means definitely the marks is essentials. It could be just a procedure as well, but my experience is that, yeah, I've been asked for it a lot actually. How about you, Jan?
Yeah, my experience was a little bit different since I got my job from the internship. So if I remember correctly, once I graduated, I just continued working for that employer. And I think I did have to submit my transcript and the confirmation, like a copy of your bachelor's degree. So I guess I haven't had the experience of applying for grad positions. Yeah, I think even if they don't ask for it, you should still include it, because if they're screening like a few hundred grads, and if there are so many candidates in the pool that they're trying to differentiate against, and if you've got better marks than someone else, then that should give that extra wow factor to your application. So in all cases, I think you should include your transcript.
So that's a real question. Is it like, what if somebody got bad marks? Like, what if somebody not have good marks? Would you would you still include the transcript, or you try to hide it?
Well, in that case, if the job application doesn't require a transcript, then you don't have to attach it. Then you just attach your bachelor's degree.
Yeah, that's right. And if they ask about it, you can talk about it later. But if you don't really have an idea, or if you feel really, really insecure about your marks, for example, then you may choose not to attach it if they don't ask for it. I think that's a fair way to go. If you have rather good marks and you feel like it can give you a better chance, definitely attach it. So talking about this question, I have like kind of mixed feelings. There were times when I say, no, marks doesn't matter, marks don't matter. You can be having bad marks and still have good job. But now that, joining the workforce for a few years and kind of grow up a little, I feel like my answer is like yes and no. The good marks is not like the only thing to help you secure a job after graduation, but it's definitely one of the big factors that can help you get a good job after graduations.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you've got good marks, then that is like, first impressions are really important when employers are screening candidates and looking through resumes and applications. And if you've got a whole set of distinctions and high distinctions, that immediately boosts your profile and they're immediately impressed with that. So in all cases, I think you should always strive to get the best mark you can at uni, but don't beat up yourself if you've tried your best and somehow things don't turn out the way you planned and you got a bad mark for one subject. That's all right as well, because I think marks are important, but they don't determine everything. in the job application. Like, I mean, employers would look at other things too, right? Like, if you did really good extracurricular activities where you were president of a club at university, that is a wow factor too. Or say you've had other work experience or other internships that can support your application. So I think, yeah, being an all-rounder is important, but marks are important as well. But it's not like, yeah, the end of the world if you don't get good marks in a couple of subjects.
Yeah, I think you're very right there, Trang. And I think you're very right about the first impressions. I would say experience is more important when it comes to getting a job in Australia. But say if you just finished your degree and you don't really have any experience or you have very little experience, then your transcript, which is your marks, are the things that can give a good impressions and can give a idea to the employer on what kind of an employee you may be or what potential you may have. So experience first, but keep up your marks. So if you can, rely on it as well in case you don't really have a lot of experience. And also speaking about the matter, I just remember about, the matter of higher mark or not. If you have bad marks, my previous company, my boss was interviewing some junior engineer, and it's funny when he kind of discussed that with me as well after the interview to see if he's gonna be a good fit for the team. And he mentioned that he has a fail in one of his subjects. My Asian origin mind straight away questions like, oh, so a fail, that's not very good. It's like, why would he fail a subject or something like that? Because that's such a kind of unthinkable, embedded in me growing up. Well, my boss kept saying something that really, really opened my mind about the whole thing. And he said like, well, he did explain why he failed. And also he showed that he retook that subject after, and he got actually a really good mark the second time. So my boss, he actually said that shows that he learned from his mistake and he picked himself up again and he acknowledged his mistake and he's not afraid to talk about it. So that show good character on if he is at work and make a mistake, he can own up to it and he can learn from the mistake and do a better job next time. And that actually really opened up my mind right there. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a whole another perspective. So it depends on how you conduct yourself as well, how you talk about it and discuss about your bad mark. How can you explain it into a like trial and error and learning experience instead of just like having a bad mark and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make, and I completely agree. And I was just thinking that when you were mentioning about like the fail mark, because yeah, if you can show that you did the subject and then got a better mark, then that shows that you've learned and you show resilience through that. That just turns a negative into a positive. Also, to your point about how you conduct yourself in the interview, because that's the second stage or could be the third stage in the job application process. Maybe they might give you a chance to progress your application through and they might want to just meet you to see how you are as a person. And if you manage to impress them with the way you conduct yourself and your professionalism and how you approach things, then at that point in time, I don't think your marks will be a vital factor in deciding whether you get the job or not, because it will be on how you conduct yourself in that interview or how you interact with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say your marks, especially if you can get really good marks, it's kind of lead you to, different doors, could lead you to different opportunities because a lot of top companies in Australia, when they hire for graduate, the first thing they look at is actually your mark because you wouldn't have much experience during university when you study. Most of people don't. Yeah, they would pick up the one with good experience first, but then they would look at the rest and try to differentiate them with either you have good marks or not. So I would say it leads you to a lot of doors, but then what is up to you to have the keys to open those doors, whether it's your interviewing skill, the way you show your professionalism, like you said, and the way you show your passion, and the way you can, make the employer feel it. that is up to you after that. So the mark can only lead you to the doors, but it's up to you if you can open those doors or not.
Well said. I think that sums up the answer to the question nicely, Kevin. And yeah, there is no right answer to this question, but yeah, everyone's different as well. So just try your best, and you will get there.
Yep, and don't beat yourself up too much if you have a not so desired mark. I know, I learned from our mistake. I'm sure we feel very bad in the past when we just have just little bit of bad mark during our study years. So yeah, pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and final point on this is, I think they say that your first job is always probably going to be your hardest job to get, because once you get that first job, future jobs will be a lot easier to go for because you have that experience, and by then marks won't matter as much. So
Yeah, definitely, that's the truth. Okay, so hope you guys enjoy this episode, and it's gonna be more a similar style episode like this when we just have a general conversation and discuss about the things that we got asked most, or the things that international students wonder about the most in Australia.
thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you haven't already, please follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram at the Collar Club Podcast. And don't forget, we have a YouTube channel now, so do check us out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks, guys, and thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.